Ready? Okay, I'll call to order the city council meeting for September 9th, 2021. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Steve Cherney.
Here.
Kevin Kadada.
Here.
Tim Rude.
Here.
Cindy Fuhr.
Here.
And Scott Palava.
Here.
Okay, tonight's agenda goes through 10H. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Mayor, I'm requesting to add under new business, consider approval of resolution 21-49, a resolution establishing an absentee ballot board.
Move we approve the agenda with the added item. Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Cherney. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of minutes. Consider approval of the minutes from the August 26th, 2021 regular meeting and the August 30th, 2021 regular meeting. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There are no public hearings tonight. Presentation of citizens' petitions and comments. Comments limited to 2 minutes. So if you're not on the agenda, now would be your opportunity to speak. I know some of you are here for the neighborhood meeting, and that'll have its own agenda item, so you certainly have a chance to speak at that time. But if anybody has any other issues, now would be the time. Okay, one item on the consent agenda, consider approval to set a snow removal rate paid by the city at $100 per hour per truck with a 3-hour minimum. Would anybody like that pulled for discussion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fuhr. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. One item on the old business. Consider approval of Resolution 2021-46, a resolution approving the classification and potential sale of non-conservation forfeited land. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This was presented at the last city council meeting. Staff was requested to do more research on whether or not the city has the opportunity to purchase the property prior to the public auction, which could be held as early as later this year or no later than next spring. Staff spoke with Rice County and confirmed that at this point in time, we do not have the option to purchase the property. We did in the past have the option to obtain it for a public purpose, and we have utilized that statute in the past to get wetlands, outlots, things like that. But if under that scenario, the city would have to retain ownership for a public purpose. So if the city would want to retain it, sell it in the future, we would have to, the only way we could obtain it is by being a successful bidder at the auction that'll be held for this parcel.
Your Honor, if I may. Joel, as a point of clarification, so if we deem that, say, as a library tonight, have we lost that window of opportunity to deem it as a public use? Have we lost that window?
I think I guess I would say yes, given the fact that the county has incurred costs by removing, or not removing, but remediating the fuel or oil tanks that are on that parcel.
Of course, we could pay the county for that, and we have $10,000 in it ourselves now too. But it sounds like the windows. It sounds like our best opportunity is probably just to go to auction and bid just like a regular consumer.
That would provide the city with the most opportunities in the future.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or discussions on the resolution? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Kadada,
Second.
second by Councilman Palava to approve Resolution 2021-46. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to new business, the 2022 Street and Utility Improvement Project Neighborhood Meeting. Welcome residents. We have a change in city engineers. We have a new engineer tonight, is Nick Williams. He represents WSB, still the same firm. Mr. Powell has done a really good job for the city over the years, has moved on, so Nick will handle it. Just to reiterate, now tonight is just a neighborhood meeting. It's not the official public hearing. That'll be coming up in the future. So tonight is a presentation of basically what we're going to construct next year. And it's opportunity for residents, if you have questions, concerns, issues, really about anything. If you have certain dates, you have to have access to your homes. If you have some family members with disabilities, all those kind of things, just make sure that feel free to speak forth, and we're certainly here to help in any way we can. For some of you that haven't been here before, I'll just kind of quickly introduce, you see the council obviously, but Russ Vlasak is a Public Works Director. Joel Erickson is the City Administrator, and behind him is Ben Baker is the City Planner. So with that, I'll turn it over to Joel and Nick for the presentation.
All right, good evening. We'll go ahead and get started. My name is Nick Williams, civil engineer here in Lonsdale. We have a brief presentation to go through, and then we'll have the opportunity to answer any questions you may have at the end. Just a couple reminders, we do have a sign-in sheet in the back, if you wouldn't mind signing that. We also have a comment card. If there's something you'd like us to know about your property in specific, you can fill out a comment card. And we also have copies of the presentation back there if you'd like to take one home with you. And if you think of a question later, you can always call us after the fact. So city personnel, we have Joel Erickson, the city administrator, Russ Vlasak, the public works director, and then myself as the city engineer. Again, we'll go through a brief presentation and then give you an opportunity to answer any questions. So why are we here tonight? Really to talk about the project, the proposed improvements, costs, and preliminary assessments. And really it's your opportunity to ask any questions you have of us before we start getting through final design. At this point, we've done preliminary design. But we haven't gone through the final design yet. But if there's something you'd like us to know, any questions about the project in general, you can please ask. Feasibility report has been prepared and accepted. Again, we've finished about 30% plans at this point, preliminary design, and we are following the section 429 state statute regarding assessments on this project. The project does proceed. Final assessment amount, payment period, and interest rate will be decided at a public hearing to be held in early 22. That's tentatively February 24th, 22. And we'll talk a little bit more about assessments here in a little bit. So history. Capital improvement plan was prepared in 2006. You can see there's been many projects completed over the last 15 odd years. In 2020, the CIP was updated based on pavement condition ratings that were done, and that's really how the 21 and 22 projects were developed and identified. So this illustrates the pavement condition ratings of the streets in the 2022 project. You can see that most of them are very low, below a reconstruction threshold, even of 60s typically where we're at. You can see 21, 33, 45. There is a small section on 3rd that's 93 that received an overlay not too long ago, but the water main through there needs replaced, and the rest of the roads are in bad shape and need repaired. Location. So we have you can see the roads in green here. We have 3rd Avenue Southwest from Central to Colorado, 4th Avenue Southwest from Railway Street to Colorado. Alabama Street from 4th to 2nd. And then on Arizona Street, we are just proposing to do water main through there. There'll be no road work, but the water main would be replaced through there. And we also have 2 alleys we're including in this year's project between Central, 2nd, Alabama, and 3rd. Also Alabama, 2nd, Colorado, and 3rd. So the proposed improvements, we are proposing a complete replacement of the water main throughout these streets. The water main is beyond its useful life at this point. It does need replaced. There is a segment of new water main on 3rd between Alabama and Railway. Reason for this is right now those properties have some very long services. It's not ideal for a water system to have really long services, so that's going to help improve the distribution system in that neighborhood. Sanitary sewer repairs, we do have some minor repairs to do to the system. We did televise things. There's a couple spot repairs, and there's a sag we're going to be looking at refixing in final design. Reclamation of the bituminous pavement. We mill up when we start the project, we mill up the pavement. We use those millings to get people in the driveways, things of that nature. Street reconstruction to existing widths. I'm going to highlight that. We're not changing the road width with the project, same width it is today. We're going to be replacing the curb, but it'll be the same road width as it is now. We are putting a whole new sand subsection in and also some drain tile. What the drain tile does, it helps drains the subgrade and also provides an opportunity for folks to connect their sump pumps to that system, which ultimately ends up into the storm sewer system. Storm sewer, the structures themselves are going to be replaced. Catch basins and manholes that you see. Those rings and structures were looked at, and they've deteriorated to a point where they do need replaced. We're not doing a wholesale replacement of the storm sewer system, but we are replacing the structures. And then again, curb and gutter will be replaced as well. So this is just a typical road section. You can see here, these streets have a 66-foot right-of-way, 33 feet from center line. Shows the new curb and gutter going in, the drain tile, and then we crown the road to drain 2% in each direction to get to the curb. More detailed view of the actual section of the road. We start by putting fabric down. That sort of helps with any kind of reflective cracking coming up. Foot of sand, 8 inches of class 5, and 3.5 inches of new asphalt. So this is a very, very thick road section that will last a long time. So water main. This is a map of the water main. Again, we are replacing the entire system. You can see here in blue. There is a new piece in purple from on 3rd Street that we are adding. That'd be new water main that doesn't exist today. Again, that's to help the properties on the east side that currently have very long services to have a much shorter connection. Storm sewer, you can see the circles and dots in green are the structures that were proposed to replace. We're not replacing the entire storm pipe system, but we are replacing the structures themselves. Sanitary sewer is in good shape. We did televise all the sanitary sewer and reviewed those tapes. Overall, it's in good condition. There are a couple spot repairs needed, and there's a large sag that we're going to be looking at fixing during final design. Okay, on to the fun part, costs. So street and service improvements, we're looking at about $750,000 for the project. Sanitary sewer is about $50,000. Water main, it's about $300,000. You can see the water main cost is the second largest cost because we are replacing the entire system. Storm sewer at $163,000, and then we do have those alley improvements we talked about at $75,000. So that puts us at a subtotal of $1.3 million and change. And then at this point, we do add a 10% construction contingency. We haven't completed final design yet, so at that point we do add the 10%. Not knowing exactly where it's going to come in. Puts us at 1.46, and then we do have indirect costs as well for engineering, advertising, legal, administrative fees, things of that nature. Puts us at a grand total of $1.7 million and change for the project. Again, the indirect costs include bonding, engineering, legal, and administrative costs. The costs are estimated construction unit prices based on recent projects bid. So the projects we have today are projects based from last year and stuff we've seen coming in. Don't expect a big change on construction prices from next year. Hopefully it's less, but you never know. But hopefully things are going to trend the same way they've been and stay low. Again, we are including a construction contingency of 10%. So financing. Issue general obligation bonds. Those are paid for by the assessments to the benefiting property owners, general property tax levy, and enterprise funds for water and sewer. Proposed assessment area. So properties receiving benefit for the project are proposed to be assessed. You can see here the properties that are being assessed on the project, and it's anything adjacent to the project itself. There are 2 properties that are commercial, and those are assessed a little different, and there is 1 high-density residential as well. So the assessment rate is the same as this year's project that you've seen going on, $14,000 per single-family unit. The commercial, industrial, high-density residential is $244.80 per front foot. So this is a amortization schedule based on a $14,000 assessment at a 4.9% interest rate. This is assuming a 15-year payback period. You can see what the interest and principal payments would be over those 15 years. I will highlight that you'll see the interest in the first year is significantly more than probably year 2, 3, and so forth, and so on and so forth. And that's really because there's a gap between when we do the assessment hearing and when it gets to the county. When you do the assessment hearing early, there's a little more time. Reason for that is assessment appeals end up complicating things. But so you'll notice that. So one way to, if you don't want to pay interest, really the best thing to do is to pay as soon as you're able, which means 30 days after the assessment hearing. So assessment hearing right now is February 24th, roughly. So if you pay by March 24th of 22, you can avoid paying any of those interest costs. And we'll talk a little bit more slides about that here. So again, 15 years amortized. So there are some deferral options for properties that must be homesteaded. 65 years age or older, retired due to permanent disability, or a member of the military called to active duty. Interest accrues until paid in full, and it cannot be deferred longer than 30 years. Again, I'll highlight this again, no interest to pay within 30 days of the assessment hearing, so that would be March 24th if the assessment hearing is February 24th. So if you don't want to pay interest, please consider paying that before that date. The first payment would actually go on your 23 property taxes. So it would go in November of 22, it would go to the county, and then the county would put on your property taxes on the following year. Hence the reason the interest is a little bit more that first year, because it's 22 months of interest. So first year accrues at $1.88 per day and will count for 675 days. Okay, timeline. So tonight we're at the neighborhood meeting. On the 30th would be the public hearing. That's where the council will consider ordering the improvements and authorizing preparation of plans and specs. On December 9th, the council would approve plans and specs, and then we would authorize advertisement bids that same meeting. Bids are received in mid-January of 22. Assessment hearing, again, February 24th of 22. And that's when they would also award a construction contract at that time. That's when we'll know actual cost from the contractor. Construction mid-May through early September roughly, similar to what you're seeing this year. And construction would complete in June 30th of 23. We do wait a freeze-thaw cycle to do the final lift of bituminous on these roads. With that, here's our contact info for Joel and myself. If anything comes up between, you can't think of a question tonight and want to ask, you can feel free to send me an email or give me a call, and I'll be happy to answer it. With that, I'll open it up for any questions you might have.
Catch the lights there, Russ. Again, this is a neighborhood meeting, as Nick mentioned there, so feel free to ask any questions, concerns, comments. Anybody got any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a question. You're going to remove the trees on the property before the construction. Will the trees be replaced?
So we will remove the trees that are impacting construction. So if there are trees right by say curb and gutter, we will remove the tree. We do offer one tree replacement per property at the end of the project.
Okay. And I have another question. If you're going to replace like a third of the driveway, could I get a contractor to replace the whole driveway, and just not that third, or can they just, can the same construction company do the whole driveway at the time?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it just depends on the contractor. We just ask that you work directly with the contractor at that point. If they're willing to do more over your driveway for you. I mean, we'll replace what we need to. If you want to do more of it, we'd give you their contact info and you could work that out with them. If you wanted more private work done.
Most of the time they will do that, or in the
Yeah.
past they have. Yeah. And we can get you dialed into whoever the subcontractor
How do
is.
I get a bid on this, or whatever I gotta do? I mean, you guys, you're already there, so it
Yep.
wouldn't take that much more to do it.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah, once construction started, just reach out to me and I can get you the contact info for the contractor and they'll be happy to probably give you a bid to do that work.
Typically, you could deal with the subcontractor directly than the driveway guy himself would be probably the cheapest, yeah.
Okay, and I have two accesses to my property. Will they remain?
Yes, we wouldn't change your accesses to your property.
Okay. Could I get one moved over a few feet?
On yours, that access will be removed by the purchase of that property to the alley.
It's not an alley anymore. I got that, so it's not it's on private property now. A couple of years ago, I got that awarded at 33 feet.
Right.
So, that's what I mean, that access, is it gonna remain there? Because I have a garage in the back that I use that access for.
Maybe Joel, you want to comment on that?
So when that was vacated, it was petitioned to be vacated, and the council adopted a resolution approving the vacation. It went, I think in that situation, I think it all went to the south. And the way that resolution was written is that when the streets were reconstructed, that access would be removed. So in that situation, I guess the council would have to take formal action on that. And that would be the same on Third Southwest as well.
Well, I guess but you have an existing building there though, right?
I do, I have a garage in the back that I use that access for.
Yeah. I think we should look at that.
Yep,
Typically we would not remove an access. But we should look at that. I mean, he's got to have access to his garage, of course,
Yeah.
Right.
We're just reiterating what the resolution, that was the
Right.
way it was adopted.
Right. But no, that's something yeah. But no, that's something we'll look at. I mean, just contact Joel and, we'll certainly take a look at
I
it.
talked to some contractor earlier this spring, he was up there, I don't know who it was, but he said he made a note of it, and, I don't know where it went from there, but I talked to him, whoever was surveying, I talked to somebody up there earlier this spring.
Yeah. Which is, I mean, that's the whole point of this meeting, to talk about issues like that. So we'll certainly note it, and yeah. Does Joel, do we have your contact information? Okay. Yeah. That's good. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? And again, just a reminder, during construction, of course, if you have any issues at all, any handicap, anything like that, just feel free to reach out, and we'll make sure that we make the contractor aware of the situation, and certainly will be addressed. I think we try really hard to provide access as much as we possibly can, during construction. But, yeah. Tom?
What's your intent with the so-called Arizona street?
I think that issue's got to be resolved, and I think this is a good time to do that. I think, I brought up to Joel, of course, and I think we're familiar with that. I think, I don't know if Nick wants to look at it too, or if you can just handle it, but that's a situation we should just get resolved.
Yep. So how that would happen is they would submit a petition to vacate the right-of-way. There's costs associated with that, and then we would do that process. I think legally what we have to track down who the initial owner or utilities were or whatever. I don't see that being an issue. And it typically gets split 50-50 by adjacent property owners.
Okay, so how can we assist the resident to start that process? Can he call City Hall, or
Sure.
how would he?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do you know what he's saying there, Tom? Right.
No, can you put it in English?
Okay. I think the short answer is you actually
Call
have to.
City Hall.
Yeah, call City Hall, and you have to apply for the petition or apply to have it turned over to the residents. I think just talk to Joel,
Yep.
right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we should get that whole area cleaned up there. I agree with you. Okay, anybody else? Again, it's just a casual meeting. The official meeting, I think, was the 30th, is that what we said?
Correct.
That,
Yep, they probably all got notice already on it,
right.
so probably yesterday.
So the 30th will be the meeting where we would, order the construction to move forward. I think one thing to note, and Nick touched on it a couple of times, but the interest, and maybe Joel can talk about that a little bit, but the interest has to be prepaid. And I think in the past, sometimes, a couple of months afterwards, somebody decides, well, you want to pay the whole interest. Well, the county won't allow us to pay the whole interest up front after that date is passed. Maybe you want to talk about that?
Yep, correct. So as Nick said in his presentation, the assessment can be paid in full, interest-free, within 30 days of adoption of the assessment roll. So based off of the schedule we have, and was stated in the presentation, that's March 24th. Otherwise, it is 22 months of interest. So I don't remember what the number was, $1,200 in interest or something, and it essentially goes in half. Where it catches people by surprise is if you've got a mortgage and your escrow, it takes a while for that to catch up. So then what happens is you'll get a letter from your lender saying, hey, your escrow isn't funded fully, so your payment's going to go up by this much, or you can pay us this much and maintain or keep your current monthly payment. It happens all the time.
Right.
We've
actually put it in bold print the last couple assessments.
That's why we try to hit it at this meeting, all of them required meetings, and the improvement hearing, or this meeting, the improvement hearing, and the assessment hearing. One important thing is we do not send out an invoice. The letter that you get for the assessment hearing is your notice of the 30 days, the cost, and everything.
So just
So
be
that's-
cognizant of that, and we'll bring it up again at the assessment hearing. But if you have the intention to pay it off, or the ability, and you want to, we need to, make sure it happens up front.
Or they can partially pay if they want to save some of the interest. That's an option as well.
And then one thing Nick touched on too is the hardships. If you're 65 or if you're a military veteran or medical issues, those kind of things. We as a city are pretty amicable. So if you do have issues that you feel are hardships, again, make sure you come forth, and if you want to do it privately, just talk to Joel, and we certainly can get that addressed also.
Yeah, the only caveat to that is that there is income limits, and they're pretty liberal as far as what you can make. So it's not like you have to make 20 grand and you can get it deferred. I think you can almost make up to a household of 70,000.
Anybody has any question? Gary?
I've got a question. I see that the green line goes right alongside Railway Street there, right up to my property, up to 601 Railway. What is that? Is that a new storm sewer, or what is that?
Water main is going to be replaced through there. Just the water main through there on Arizona.
Am I getting assessed on that?
You would probably get a utility assessment only. I'd have to
Well,
look.
that water line has been replaced about 5 times since I lived there already.
Yeah, it.
Russ knows all about that. That water line up to the manhole has been fixed. I would have to say like 10 years ago, we redid that whole thing.
That hasn't been done since I've been here, Gary.
You were there, when Simon was there digging it, we put a new shut-off in there and everything. There's a brand new shut-off there, and then the new line going to the main line that has all been replaced that time, because remember the big ordeal when you couldn't find it?
That was, yeah, that'd be your water service. The water main hasn't been replaced.
So I'm wondering why it's getting fixed again. and why I'm getting assessed on that.
Well, I think what Russ is saying, your service, your curb stop had been replaced, but not the main itself that the city maintained has not been replaced, so that's in need of replacement. So that would be why you would be getting assessed, is we're replacing the city's main water line through there.
I don't agree with you on that, but I'm gonna have to check my records on, see what was replaced at that time. Because I know it was quite costly. We're missing some information on that.
Okay,
The
again,
water
if
main
you-
hasn't been replaced as long as I've been here.
Okay.
That area, the water main has not been replaced.
But feel free to check your records. I mean, you certainly can talk to Nick and or whoever, and you know.
Is that where we had the failure last winter?
Two of them.
Two failures on that line last winter, okay.
And they're pretty spendy, right? Because they're by the storm sewer, by the sewer system. Okay. So yeah, if you want to check your records, and again, you know, on the 30th we have the actual order of improvement, so we'd want to, you know, kind of have an answer by then, you know. So. Anybody else? Okay, if there's nothing else, we'll move on. You have questions? Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, residents, for attending this. And as you can tell by the projects we've done in the past, they seem to turn out very well. You know, some of the part of the town looks really nice. Okay, if there's nothing else, we will move on to item B. Consider approval of application for payment number 6 in the amount of $66,676.70 to Key Contractors, Inc. for the police facility. Melissa Stein of Wold Architecture. We'll get you fixed up there, Melissa. And then I try to talk slow, you know, try to.
Hello, Mayor, council members. Yep, so we're here to approve the pay app, the most recent one, and then to also kind of give you guys an update of where we are with construction. So the good news is that our brick has been, it's done, it's been through the kiln, it's on its way. It's in process of being packaged, which is great news. I know, you know, Scott and Joel and all of us on the committee that's been one of the things we've been waiting for, so that's been really great news, and so that's now in alignment with our most recent schedule that we have. We're trying to get the confirmation of when we're gonna get precast and make sure that we're sticking with that date. And then we'll keep updating our schedule from that and keep progressing through our schedule. So everything looks to be in a forward motion now, which is really, really great news.
So when would we expect activity up on the hill?
Yeah, so we are planning to, with this date of the brick being shipped, you know, today, or tomorrow, tentatively October 4th is when we should start seeing precast panels on site and being erected. So prior to that, there's some stuff that they have to do to the site to prep it, to make sure that, you know, the foundations and just kind of with them sitting in some of the water that we got, that nothing's gotten, you know, damaged or changed from that. So they'll do some prep work, and then, yep, the walls will start being erected on October 4th.
And I would suspect they would go up pretty fast, and we're still expecting to have the shell in place before winter conditions.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And
I might add, you probably haven't seen it from Highway 19, but they have been delivering materials. There are a lot of materials on site.
Okay.
You just can't,
Yes.
it's more to the south, so you don't really see it from the highway.
I've seen them, Scott.
Yep, there's quite a bit of stuff up there.
Yep. Scott, you beat me to it. I was
Okay.
gonna say, yeah, some of the big things that we've been waiting for is kind of our roofing installation and some of our steel, and we have actually both of those on site currently. That's where we've been seeing some of our longer lead time items currently, so.
Good. Good. Okay. Before us is payment application number 6. Anybody have questions or concerns or thoughts about that?
Everything's been, they've completed everything they could to this point, and it all has looked good for that, so. I'll make a motion to approve, payment number 6 in the amount of $66,676.70.
Motion,
Contractors.
motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fair. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of change order number 3 in the amount of $5,345 for the addition of a storm-rated door and removal of one locker pertaining to the police facility. Melissa?
Yeah, hi everyone. So we've been really fortunate where we haven't had a lot of changes on this project, money-wise, if you will. One of them that came up through a third-party review, which you have to do on your storm shelter, is that we had to add a secondary door. We believed previously that we had that taken care of through preliminary conversations and that it wasn't needed. Well, then through our third-party review, they did now require it. We did try to go through some channels before adding it to see if there's other things we could do. Unfortunately, we do have to add it, and because it's a storm shelter, it does have to withstand, like 250-mile-an-hour winds and kind of be a little bit more reinforced. So it's a fairly spendy door to do that. So if you guys don't remember, our locker room in the police facility is the storm shelter for that facility. Per the 2020 code, a storm shelter is required in law enforcement facilities now.
And I did actually inquire about, wasn't really thrilled with having another door as a potential breach point, but when they bring up the fact that it's got to withstand tornado and, that debris and all that, I mean, you better chance of coming through the wall than you would through the door. The door is probably stronger in the long run.
Yeah.
So.
Is the removal of the one locker, is that because we need to have this bigger door, or, okay?
It is, yep. And we had we were planning for future with the lockers, and so we checked those counts with, the chief before we made that decision in this change.
Yeah, what do we have now? Is it 11?
11, yeah.
Lockers.
Okay.
Melissa, how do you, as an architect, how do you explain this? We knew it was going to be a storm shelter, and then all of a sudden, did the code change at the state level, or this seems like it's an architectural design standard. If it's going to be a storm shelter, you need a door, and you need a heavy-duty door. Why was this missed?
Yeah, so this is a secondary door.
Okay.
So with the storm shelters now, there is a third-party review process you have to go
So this
through.
is new to you guys?
Because in the 2020 code, now storm shelters are a requirement
All right.
that have to follow certain.
I can understand that. I thought it must be new, because you
Yeah.
guys wouldn't overlook that, right? Okay, all right,
No.
thank you.
Was there not a conversation too that it was based on the number of people that could fit in it? Based
Yes.
on the locker room, based on the size?
Okay.
Even though, you'd only have 11 lockers, you could fit 20 people in that space, because that also included the restroom and shower area. So the square footage means X number of people can fit in there. As a result, you had to have that secondary exit.
We should get those code guys out here when we have a storm, put them in there and see if we withstand.
Well, based on the concrete work and everything, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yep. It's a sturdy place, for
Okay.
sure.
All right, thank you. So, yeah,
And move we approve change order number 3.
I'd second that, Your Honor.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Cherney. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2021-47, a resolution accepting a bid for the police facility audio/video equipment. Melissa?
Hello. So with the project, all of our rough-ins for power, data, for technology are within the project construction documents. But we typically provide or do a separate bid package for AV devices. So it would be any of the technology in the conference room, projectors, TVs that you might have, those sort of things. Just because we want to make sure that if you have a construction that's 12 or 18 months, that you're not buying TVs 18 months before you actually need them installed. So typically it's always a separate contractor, separate vendor that we we would go through the process with. So what we did is we quoted out to 4 different vendors. We got 4 different quotes back. I'm not sure, Joel has them, so I think maybe he submitted them or we could get them if
We
you
have
wanted.
them.
Yep, okay. The low bid would be Tierney. We have verified their number. We have verified them as a contractor that they, we work with them on a number of projects. They're very good quality and we believe that they'll do a really great job for you guys in the PD facility here. And then this is to award the base bid and then the alternate. The alternate is to kind of have some wireless technology within the conference room. And it's all within our allocated, budget. When we did our project budget, it's underneath what we had allocated for our technology fund.
When they went out for bid to these, these 4 firms, did they have a bid sheet to go off of to bid the exact same things or?
They did.
Okay.
Yep. So even though it was quoted, they still had to fill out kind of a form,
Okay.
if you will. So it was all there. Some of them sometimes provide do proposals and submit those with it, but they all have the same form that they fill out.
Perfect.
Have you worked with Tierney before?
We have, yes. Yep.
It's nice that we budgeted 40,000 and it's actually less. It's been kind of a
Yeah.
nice thing to see right now.
Let's see every day, yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa, who signs the contract with these folks? Is it the city or do you guys, or, in other words, there has to be some legal contract with them. Is that Wolf?
Nope, so this is a direct contract with the city.
That's
It-
part of
it
the,
is.
it's part of the resolution there.
Yep.
Oh, is that part of it?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
see that. Oh.
But what we do is we help coordinate so that there aren't any miscommunications between the contractor on site doing the construction stuff and the AV vendor, and just kind of help be that middleman and making sure that everybody's reading the plans the same way and installing things properly.
Who looks at if there's delays in them providing the equipment, any of the legal phrase, is that reviewed by some legal department? Do we have to have our legal beagle do it, or does the mayor who signs this has to do it, or who looks at all that kind of stuff? I just don't want to get hung up again,
Yeah, so we treat, even though it's a direct, I would say contract with you guys, we would treat it just like any other contractor. And we would make sure that we're following the same processes with them, making sure they're on schedule. We've already checked all of the products that they are looking at to make sure that lead times aren't an issue here and stuff like that.
But what teeth is there if they decide, well, my my TVs are coming from China, we can't get them in? What teeth is there in the agreement, Melissa?
Yeah, so in the quote that we sent out, there was, just like in our contract documents, there's kind of we call it a front end of our spec, but essentially it lays out kind of all the legal ramifications and all of the legal, I would say, things that they need to abide by. Those are still part of this contract here too.
Do we need to be concerned that there'd be delays from them, and then not have the ability to have a challenge that we can actually win? Do we need to be concerned with that with this company?
I don't believe so, no. I am sure that they have a contract I'm sure they've gone through this, and if we need to put together a contract, or if we want to put together a similar contract that we do with our contractor that the city has, we could definitely do that with this contract here too.
I just, you see where I'm going.
I think what Councilman Cherney is saying, similar to the brick situation.
Yep.
If we
Right.
go into winter conditions, the brick company is gonna be responsible for
That's right.
covering
Right,
those.
that's right.
Well, this is kind of getting towards the tail end of it, and if it's not gonna delay anybody other than them and us getting the keys for it, what happens if they don't?
Right.
They don't provide it by the due date.
Yeah, I think it needs.
It's one of the finishing touches.
Yeah. Well, we didn't have anything, I guess, in the bid that they filled out saying that there's, if they don't hit it by this day, any day after, that's X amount of money or anything. We don't have that in
Right, and that's
in
what
this
I'm kind
contract
of
that they
getting
filled?
to,
Okay.
because before the mayor signs this, we need to have some guarantees or something.
Do we know if the product is available?
Yep, so that is one thing that we checked. They've already been checking the lead time on all of the products that we've kind of specified for, because we do a similar specification, laying out all the requirements. So within that, they've already been checking all of those lead times on products, and just the quick review, obviously, that they've done in the few weeks that they've been awarded or that we've been talking through it. they don't see any issues at the moment.
So what could you recommend has assurances that it'll be timely? And, I mean, is there anything else you can do other than the contract, or how do you see that?
Yeah, so the contract is really the one thing that we would do to hold their feet to the fire, if you will, on those things. Similar to, like I said, with Key, we signed a contract with them, and that's helping all of the things with like the brick and the timing. It's helping enforce those.
I suppose technically it starts at the top with wool, though, I suppose, right?
Well, I'd like it to. But Your Honor, though,
I
I
know what
think,
you're saying.
I think we need to look at that contract and, you know, or
Did you-
somebody needs to.
Did you look at the contract, Joel? Are you okay with it? Are you okay with awarding the bid?
Typically what happens is you award the bid, and then we'll get the contract.
Okay, well,
Okay.
And then I review it, the city attorney reviews it.
okay, all right.
I mean, we won't be able to add liquidated damages to it at this point, because it wasn't bid as that.
I'm not suggesting that, Kevin.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Okay. So you're okay awarding the bid? Is that what you're?
Yes.
saying?
And you,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yep.
That's good.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-47.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilman Kadada. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.
Keep the train rolling, eh?
Yeah.
All right. Consider approval to make a conditional job offer to Brody Cup as part-time police officer at $24.15 per hour. Jason Schmitz, Chief of Police. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Currently, the Lonsdale Police Department has one part-time police officer that also works full-time for the Rice County Sheriff's Department. Due to that full-time commitment, his availability to assist and cover shifts is limited. I had 2 individuals inquire and apply for a part-time position with the Lonsdale Police Department. The Human Resource Committee and I held interviews on July 29th, 2021, and selected Brody Cup. Both applicants interviewed very well and pleased with the selection made. It would be my recommendation to give Brody Cup a conditional job offer as a part-time police officer for the city of Lonsdale on the condition that Brody Cup successfully passes the psychological and medical exam.
I think he'd be a very good addition. I actually coached him as a Little League baseball player.
Well, in that case, you
Very
should,
good.
yeah.
Have they checked you on the background yet?
I make a motion to offer a part-time police officer, Brody Cup.
Motion by Councilman Kadada.
Second.
Second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
How old are you, Kevin? My gosh.
Getting there. Catching up to you.
Yeah. Consider approval to authorize staff to advertise for bid concrete repair work at the fire hall. Dave Fluke, Fire Chief of Lonsdale. Welcome, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I don't know if anybody has had a chance to look at the front apron on our fire hall, but it's got some pretty good sized potholes. I know in the past few years, we've tried patching them. They just keep degrading. And what we would like to do is replace pretty much the whole apron in the front of the building, from the building to the sidewalk, and about pretty much the length of the building is what it's going to be. And on the east side, there's some water issues in front of that overhead door, so there's a little hump we'd like to take out, so we're proposing putting probably a 30-foot by 20-foot concrete apron there too. And while they're there, repair some thresholds underneath some of the overhead doors. And they have kind of a metal, they put in a metal threshold years ago and they're rotting out, so we'll have those removed and replaced with concrete. Monies have been put aside for this project already. The townships are aware of it, and they have essentially approved it with the past budgets. So I guess I am recommending or asking for approval to go out for bids to replace the concrete slab and additional patchwork.
What time frame are you thinking? This fall to get it completed yet, or next spring?
I'd like to try this fall, if it's possible.
What's the schedule for County Road 4 being done? And is that gonna be a problem?
I think that's a couple of years off now.
Okay.
So it was supposed to happen next year,
Mhm.
but it was postponed due to staffing issues till
Okay.
'24 at this point in time.
I hate to see us get nice new concrete out there and then the county comes and pokes it out.
Would that be in the construction zone or not?
If they went through to the limits of the right of way, a portion of that would be yes.
How far beyond the sidewalk is the right of way?
I don't know. I'd have to look.
Would it
15
be worth it putting an expansion joint right at the line? That way you could just take out, if they did have to, just take out the
Right.
panels, versus having to make a cut. It might look a little pinky,
Right.
but then you're covered. Does that have?
If it goes to 5 years out?
Yeah.
Well, I was just gonna say, that's the thing, we don't know.
But,
Just like we were planning next year's street project to coincide with the county, so the property owners had 1 year of construction. Well, now they've got 2.
Right.
Right. And if they have continued staffing issues, I mean, like you say, it could be 5 years.
I'm just curious, Kevin, you would probably know, but based on the weight of the vehicles, I mean, would a standard 4-inch slab be sufficient? They need to be 6-inch?
I would recommend 6-inch and rebar at minimum 2 foot on center.
I'm gonna say the heaviest vehicle I think we have is probably, I think it grosses out about 65,000 pounds.
And like you mentioned, I mean, the townships basically agreed to it and money set aside, so,
And you'll draw up a spec, I'm assuming?
Yes.
Yep.
You're gonna expedite this in council, since he's gonna go out for bid and then we take the lowest bid, does this really have to come back to us? And can we just rock and roll on this thing, get the lowest bid and go, and let Joel and the chief work it out?
Well, I think on a dollar amount, would be a factor. But typically, I mean, it doesn't take long to approve a bid, and then it's all documented. And, just because I'm sure the townships are going to want to see, what, the legalese and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
But, I appreciate your,
Just trying to be a little bit,
yeah, you are, efficient. No, I agree. But I do think it should come back for council approval.
sounds good.
So,
I'd make a motion to approve, Your Honor, unless there's more questions.
motion by Councilman Cherney,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion?
It's just, if it drags closer to, November-ish or end of October, it wouldn't be a bad idea for a rebid also. I think the best bidding market is in January for a spring job. But, I think right now it's kind of prime money, Most
And it's
everybody's
probably-
plate is full.
But that's what I was gonna say, it's probably even if you can get
Right,
contractors.
right. So that's just one thing to think about too.
Is there a
Right.
time that we would not want to have it poured?
Anything after November 1st.
Okay, so let's not just pour cement to get it.
Right.
Let's, do it smart.
Especially there's gonna be, high salt coming in right
True
now from
enough.
number 4 and all that.
Good point.
Want to make it last as long
Yeah,
as we can.
so you're really only talking, you got about 6 weeks.
Right, exactly, that's what I was
Yeah.
asking, but,
Well, I'm just trying to get the ball rolling.
yeah, absolutely,
that's right.
absolutely. Yeah, worst case, even if it just gets bid, in spring.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Discuss proposed ordinance 2021-307, an ordinance amending Title III, Chapter 33 of the Lonsdale City Code concerning elections, and consider approval to schedule a public hearing on October 14th, 2021 at 7:15 PM or shortly thereafter. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Staff's been requested to research and present a plan to switch from our current odd year election to even year elections. Reason for the switch would include not having an election every year in Lonsdale, saving approximately $2,700 in odd year election costs, and election judges are becoming more difficult to find. State statute 205.07 regulates when cities can conduct elections. They can be conducted in either odd or even years. To switch to even years, we would have to do the following. The switch must be done at least 180 days prior to the filing period for the next scheduled election, which would be between now and January of '23. The change would take effect either 240 days after adoption on publication of the ordinance, or a fixed date stated in the ordinance. If within 180 days after adoption of the ordinance, 10% of the number of voters from the city's last election sign a petition, the change would go to essentially referendum for consideration by the residents. We would have to adopt an ordinance designating that elections would be conducted in even years. As part of this, the council is going to have to discuss and decide as far as terms to get to that even year, if terms would be shortened or lengthened. Another consideration, currently the mayor's term is 2 years. This would be the time to consider keeping it at 2 years or increasing it to 4. Items the council will need to consider. The timing, do we do it before our November 2nd election? Do it after? As of now, staff's recommending that the ordinance be adopted prior to this year's election. This way candidates know the length of their terms and residents know how long the terms are for the candidate that they are electing. Terms, as proposed, the terms would be extended 1 year. And again, does the mayor's term become a 4-year term? I've been working with the city attorney on this. Unfortunately, he had a previous commitment, so he could not attend. The point of tonight would be to discuss what I just went over, the length of the terms, if we want to proceed, and scheduling the public hearing as stated on the agenda for October 14th at 7:15 or shortly thereafter. The city attorney will be at the September 30th meeting, so we'll have another opportunity to discuss this. Typically, we don't have our attorney attend meetings, but I think this one is an important one. If there's any questions that can be answered on the spot, not 2 weeks from now.
Just to reiterate, so in the past, like the New Prague School Board or some other elections during these odd years, so right now we would just be ourselves, is that what you're saying?
That is correct. Yep, we are, for Lonsdale this year, we are the only, offices on the ballot.
Yeah. And I think the big thing is the savings too, and the work of getting, election judges, all those kind of things.
Another thing is, and we'll be just going to discussing it later in the meeting, but Bryce County no longer does absentee ballots for us. So we're doing them, proposing that City Hall staff would do that.
So in an even year, they would do that then,
Correct.
with the rest of the election.
I think it makes good sense to change to even year.
Yes.
Okay, so for right now, we're just looking at setting the date for the public hearing on October 14th. Does that date work for everyone? That's the second meeting in October, of course.
It does,
Yes.
Okay. And, motion by motion by Councilman Kadada.
Well, Your Honor, are we also establishing the term?
Not,
Or are we gonna
not with
discuss
this
that on
motion.
the 30th?
Right, we'll discuss it.
This is just the public hearing.
Just to set the date,
Okay.
correct.
All right,
Yep,
thank you.
just to set the date. Okay, motion by Councilman Kadada,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Palava. Any further discussion?
I was actually going to ask Joel if he could check, just for a matter of comparison, what other similar cities are doing for the mayoral term. Is it a 2-year, 4-year? I have no idea.
I'm not sure. I think most communities around here are probably 2 years, but I can definitely
I just was looking
reach
for,
out.
just for a comparison.
We were for
Yeah,
it.
and it depends on the size of your community, Burnsville as opposed to here, could take a long time to get you.
I was surprised that it was 2 for the mayor down here.
So,
A lot of mayors are 2 years,
Are
though,
they
so
now?
it's
Okay.
kind of common,
I've
But whatever.
been looking at the mayorship.
I suppose
of
you've
other
probably been a
communities.
council member before you've been a mayor and then done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consider approval of Resolution 2021-48, a resolution appointing election judges for the 2021 city general election. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Well, as we've been discussing, our next city general election is scheduled for Tuesday, November 2nd. According to state statute 204B.21 subdivision 2, it's the city council's responsibility to appoint election judges, two of which need to be from different political parties. I have sent applications to judges that have served in the past. I've received most of them back, or at least the ones proposed for approval tonight. They all, as I said, have been judges in the past, most recently with the 2020 election, probably the busiest election in city history, probably the busiest election in probably American history. So they know how to deal with the people and the crowds and do a good job. And also they work well together. The fiscal impact is the cost of election judges, proposing $14.42 an hour, which is grade 1, step 3 on the city's pay scale. Judges will be compensated for all training and any activities associated with the elections. The alternative would be none. The city has to appoint election judges. We have up until, I believe, 25 days before the election, with the exception of maybe some emergency situations to appoint judges. And then included with the staff report is state statute 204B.21 and then proposed resolution 2021-48.
Definitely gonna need judges.
I think your resolution needs a correction there. On your rates.
I caught that today,
Okay.
after I did, I did the resolution at 1441, and then I worked on the pay scale, and it went to 1442, rounding in Excel. So the resolution that was signed is 1442.
So moved.
With that correction.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, motion to approve that correction.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second.
second by Councilperson Fear. Any further discussion? And we'll say though, you read your report. That's good. Yes.
I'd hear about it.
I'm sure you
You're an
would.
election judge.
That's
You
right.
got that half.
Yes, I am sure. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Exactly. Need bubble gum.
All right, that concludes the planned agenda. Any department reports? Mr. Vlasak?
No.
Okay. Nick, anything from you? Okay. We'll have to get him a nameplate someday, I suppose. Huh?
Yep, that is ordered.
I, did I miss I? Oh, that's right, I did miss I. Good, well, it's a good thing we caught that. Yeah, you guys are paying attention. Consider approval of resolution 2021-49, a resolution establishing an absentee ballot board. Mr.
Yep, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As I'm gearing up for elections and getting ballots ordered and hitting timelines and everything, the city council, per state statute 203B.121 subdivision 1, the city council has to, by resolution or ordinance, establish an absentee ballot board. It can consist of election judges or properly trained election judges and/or city staff. The city treasurer and myself did attend absentee ballot board training earlier this summer, so we are trained and certified to, be responsible for absentee ballots. Unless there's any questions, staff would make a recommendation to approve resolution 2021-49.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Kadada, second by Councilman Cherney. Any further discussion? Hey, how are absentee ballots going to work? I mean, do you have mail-ins, or how is this whole thing gonna work? Is it like the
Yep,
federal?
so residents can get applications through the Secretary of State's website. We've got to check daily SVRS to see if there's any in the queue that are properly completed. Those are, at least the application is vetted by the Secretary of State's office. Otherwise, they could print one off online, mail it to City Hall, bring it into City Hall, and then that starts the process for us to determine registered or unregistered voters and proceed down one of those two
Well,
paths.
I guess my question, is it ultimately like the federal election where people can just mail it in?
Yep.
and-
Yep.
Really?
The only thing we're not doing is we're not doing direct balloting, where if they come to City Hall to do an absentee ballot, it is in all the envelopes. and we'll be, go through the process of vetting and making sure that everything's compliant, accept, reject the ballot, or not necessarily the ballot, but all the envelopes, that everything's filled out properly, names match, addresses match, things like that. And then we'll hold those until election day and run them through at the end of the day. There is not, we have to have an auto mark, voting assistance device for people that need assistance, whether hard of hearing, blind, what have you. But otherwise, yeah, there's no direct ballot. It will not go into the ballot box. It'll remain in their secrecy envelopes. But it'll all be done here at City Hall.
Okay.
September 17th through 5 o'clock on November 1st.
September 17th.
Coming up quick.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now, do I have everything? Everything covered? Okay. All right, thank you. Mr. Erickson, anything else?
No, everything we went over, budget projects, elections, that's kind of been the main things lately.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Baker?
At our joint meeting we had in late August with the Planning Commission, we took that presentation and condensed it down, and then reached out via phone and email to some of the landowners that are within city limits, large acre landowners, and we've heard back from 2 of them. It just went out yesterday, so we'll compile that feedback, and then probably through the next couple months this fall, try to keep reaching out and try to encourage development. So.
Yeah. It was a good meeting, a lot of detail. Thanks for setting that up. That's good. Councilman Cherney?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor and Council. Regarding the upcoming election, that we're on our own, like a little island this time. The past couple of months, I've been in discussion at the county with the director of elections over there. Her name is Denise Anderson. It's been brought to my attention by Rice County Republicans. They said, "Hey, Steve, you guys are doing an election over there. How about just doing paper ballots?" And I said, "Well, we do paper ballots, but they're fed into a machine. Well, how about eliminating the machines?" So, I've talked to Joel about this as well. Had 2 discussions with Denise. She said, "Hey, regarding the machines, it goes through a validation process, and Joel's going to do a validation process that's open to the public that'll be coming up in October." So I told folks they can come down and take a look at that. Our machines are not coming out of China, they're coming out of South Dakota. But it's something worth, talking about. In the second conversation with Denise last week, she said, basically, "Steve, if you want to take this up," now I'm talking personally, but you go to the Secretary of State's office. The county's out of this. You have to take it up with them. So I just want you all to be aware that it was pursued. Joel's confident in what he's seeing in his validation process. I'm planning on being here, and I'm going to bring back some of those folks that are concerned to see that validation process. And I think that's good for the public to see that. And that's all I have to report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Councilman Kadada?
Upcoming meetings for Park Board is September 27th at 6, and the same night, September 27th at 6:45 is Planning and Zoning.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Councilperson Fear?
The Liquor Store Board met on Tuesday evening to go over the numbers for August. Our inventory is a little more than, about 24,000 more than last August. But sales are doing well. There was about a 1% decrease compared to 2020. But still strong sales.
Strong, yeah. Good. Thank you for all your work. Councilman Palava?
EDA will be meeting next Thursday. We'll be touching base more on our BR&E program and some of the other things that we've been working on, signage for downtown and those sort of things.
Good. Thank you, sir. I don't have too much. Just again, a big shout out to all our advisory boards. I know they do a lot of work and don't probably get a lot of recognition, but I know the Planning, Zoning, and the Park Board and EDA and the Library Board and all you guys and all you council people on those various boards to assist have spent a lot of time, a lot of volunteerism, a lot of efforts. I just want to thank you for all your work and a big shout out to everything you do for the city.
You.
That's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Palava,
Second?
second by Councilperson Fuhrer. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.